So this next part is very interesting. And of course, because I can find something that has a business side of it, I can still talk about content. So yay, right? Man, the importance of having a content machine by your side when it comes to your business will help with the success of it. So I found this clip that was going viral from my niche of things, not necessarily viral everywhere, but definitely viral in my niche of things, as far as companies that do not have a content machine with them will probably fade away. So let's hear about it.
Kylie Jenner launches a makeup brand, takes off, becomes this $1 billion brand. Kim Kardashian launches a clothing brand, becomes a $3 billion brand. And here's what I think is the most prescient M&A transaction of 2022. And you guys can tell me I'm crazy. I think the most important M&A deal of 2022 was when Penn Gaming bought Barstool Sports, because it shows that every consumer packaged good or every consumer services business ultimately needs to be a content business. And if you don't naturally have content creation in your blood, you have to go and buy a content business or you are going to die. And that's why I think all traditional brands that aren't oriented and built around content creation as their primary differentiating foundation will not survive and will not be able to compete effectively. And instead, what we're going to see is influencers build and distribute consumer goods and consumer services in a more efficient way, because guess what? They've got distribution built in. Let's say Coca-Cola tried to build a content business today. How good would they be? Not very good. That's why they're going to end up dying.
I mean, do you think Mr. Beast Burger could beat McDonald's?
Yes, and that's what I'm saying. That's my point. That's why I opened
That's
up.
kind of insane when you think about it. If Mr. Beast had 5,000 franchisees.
Yeah, but this is exactly my point that I said at the beginning. Every traditional brand will get destroyed in 30 years. And they will get destroyed by the influencers that have built an audience through content creation and now creating businesses on top of that that compete with the traditional incumbents.
First off, that's crazy. Okay. That's crazy to think about, as far as brands like Coca-Cola and McDonald's can get possibly overran by influencers, right? Like Gatorade may get overran by Logan Paul's and KSI's Prime. Now, I think this is very interesting because it just proves that without content, you do not have a brand or now a business, right? We are looking at an age that media controls everything and controls the buying power of certain things. I actually found this clip that talks about the leverage and why, these influencers are now killing the game from a business standpoint. And we're talking about people like Logan Paul, like Mr. Beast, things that we covered last episode of how they're building empires, but it all started with the leverage of their media company. Well, it is literally a media company, but literally their media, their platforms of how they got to where they are. So I found this on a podcast of, I want to say Naval's, Naval. I don't know. Y'all know I suck with names, but listen to this because this was interesting.
So now you can multiply your efforts without having to involve other humans and without needing money from other humans. This podcast is a form of leverage. Long ago, I would have had to sit in a lecture hall and lecture each of you personally, and I would have maybe reached a few hundred people, and that would have been that. But today, thanks to the internet, I can buy a cheap microphone, hook it up to a laptop or an iPad, and there you are, all listening. So this newest form of leverage is where all the new fortunes are made. So all the new billionaires. So the last generation fortunes were made by capital. That was the Warren Buffetts of the world. But the new generation fortunes are all made through code or media. Now, the beauty is when you combine combine all of these three. That's where tech startups really excel, where you take just the minimum but highest output labor that you can get, which are engineers and designers, product developers, and then you add in capital. You use that for marketing, advertising, scaling, and you add in lots of code and media and podcasts and content to get it all out there. That is a magic combination.
So I found that interesting because that's literally what these influencers are doing. Because he said it from a tech startup, but I'm looking at it like, so the three parts that he said was labor, capital, and media, right? And he referred it to code as well. And with those three, this is going to be the formula to these new successful millionaires and new successful, celebrities that we know. So when we're looking at the influencers now, and this is why this is now one of the top jobs kids want to be in, right? Because you go from zero to bare minimum money to starting a channel, right? That can then create a substantial amount of income that will be your capital, that you look at a Mr. Beast, where he got Mr. Beast Burger, which will create labor, right? So that hired people in the restaurant business, right? And now he's having multiple businesses like that. So he has Mr. Beast Burgers. He has like Feastables, which is these different snacks and things like that, right? And he's taking all of those three things and creating an empire. He's not asking for, now probably he could ask for investors, or maybe he has asked for investors from a capital standpoint. But this Mr. Beast is went from 2 years ago spending $100K on videos to now $1 million per video.
Yeah.
And everything that he does, he reinvests in the business. So whatever money he's making from YouTubes and brand sponsorships, this is now his capital for growing the other different businesses and hiring the other people, getting the different labor that the podcast talked about. And this is something that wasn't able before, right? Like he said, we had to go on radios or do different types of lectures or go on TV shows, those things that weren't ours. And now we're able to create platforms that is going to allow us to give us the capital if we play this right, that we wouldn't necessarily need investors. Now investors will speed it up, right? They'll speed up and get the things that we need faster. But is it completely necessary? No, not the way that the creator economy is now. So interesting that we covered this almost, I would say, several weeks already, but now having the formula. Last week we had the blueprint of the creator economy, but now we have the formula of what that creator economy can create as far as successful millionaires. Do you have the leverage from your media that will create the capital that you would need for the labor? And now you have a complete empire because you are able to continue to get brand awareness out there because you have a platform already that will let people know about your different businesses, that will let people know about your different products and services, right? It's funny, and shout out to Terica, a real early guest from ours. I remember a conversation where she bought a media company. She was like, I'm not hiring different videographers and photographers. I'm just going to own a business, a media company. I'm just going to buy one out. And now her content's getting better and she's coming out with, she goes on masterminds and that's super documented. And now people want to be involved in what she has going on because we clearly see what's going on, right? It's all about, people connect with people. And once we are connected, it's all about how you nurture the audience with your content so that whatever you drop, now they're a part of it. Mr. Beast wants to create good cereal, like healthy cereal.
Yeah.
And people are going to buy it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I see that dude more as like a humanitarian right now. Like the stuff that he's talking about, I know he's doing it through content. Content is the vehicle in which he's doing that. But he's really working on some incredible things. I think just the mentality behind what he's doing is really cool. You know, I mean, you really spoke to that so well. The importance of content is growing more and more and more. And at this point, you have to be thinking about ways to make this a part of your schedule. It has to be an important thing that you time block for. It's not something that you make time for. And maybe if you do, it has to be a part of, this will make me revenue. I just don't know when, which by the way, is not any different than the traditional marketing that has been going on for years, right? They always talked about marketing is going to make you money. We just don't know how much. We don't know if it works or not. There's really no real way of measuring it. But I think content is very unique because it comes with community. And that audience essentially is a group of loyal customers or a fan base that's going to follow you through many of your different endeavors, as long as you continue to be true and unique to who you are or who you've shown yourself to be to them, and you continue to serve them for what they come to you for. So that alone, I think is a full formula in itself. One thing that he said, and it was very brief, but I want to make sure we hit on it, and it was, he said it requires minimal people, right? Requiring as little people as possible, I guess, if you were to think of it that way. And and I don't think it has anything to do with that I'm an introvert, but I realized that more and more, especially in startups or something that is young, the more hands that are attached to it, the messier it gets. For some reason, maybe it's failure on a leadership side, and it's always leadership's fault. I'm of that philosophy. It's always leadership's fault first and foremost, but it always tends to still slip over into other areas as well, right? But I want you guys to start thinking about business this way, right? Because I also think this is another formula that has not made its way into our communities when we talk about building and scaling businesses, that needs to start making its way into the conversation as we get more serious about business is here to stay. You're seeing the dialogue shift in the content world where content creators are no longer just selling their creativity. They're now merging. That's what mergers and acquisitions, M&As, that's exactly what that is. It's like, no, I don't want to just give you my creativity or loan you my fan base or promote your product for me. Let's partner. That's where the power, the dynamic is now, that shift is happening and power is going into the creator's hand. And so with that, it's going to require a larger business knowledge from us to know how to really run and scale operations. And so there is a formula that's used in most businesses, not just big businesses, that helps you to calculate how much revenue you should be making per employee. Right? This lets you know almost the health of your business. Now, I think that for the most part, this is used from a productivity standpoint. But if you're in this space or in the business space for that matter, I just want you to run some numbers as we share this. And I'd be curious to know how you look at the health of your business afterward. Right? But this says a good revenue per employee benchmark ranges between $43,000 of revenue per employee for companies making less than $1 million total revenue to $230,000 per employee for companies earning $50 million or more in total revenue. Right? Which is the direct ratio of how much revenue are you generating per people in your business. Now, I've seen this number completely jacked, meaning increased tremendously in competitive markets to urge business owners to run as lean as possible. I've seen this number as little as, or I should say, as much as $500,000 per employee. And you can imagine, the more that number increases in terms of how much revenue you're able to earn per employee in your business, the leaner that you are, and of course, the more effective that your business is. And so just something to give you some perspective around how to think about people in your business. And when it says as little people as possible, yes, you're relying on platforms, but also always make that comparison in terms of how many people and how does this impact revenue, or how many people and what is the average revenue that I'm generating off of the number of employees or team members in my business. And I think that will start to give you some more perspective of like, how am I doing with my people? How am I doing with my people? So for sure, just something to think about as well.
Facts. So let us know what you thought of the blueprint section. Let us know, put it in the comments, go onto our social media, let us know